So our next speaker is Souissi. Salim is the CEO of OSPITEK, but much more importantly is one of the brightest human beings I've ever met. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about how taking a look from the outside can change the way that technology transforms an industry. So Salim, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ast, for the kind introduction, and thank you, Dr. Bini, for inviting me to this conference. I'm honored to be talking to such a distinguished group of medical professionals. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experience coming from multiple other industries before healthcare, and how we were able to accomplish some of these innovations, some of the work that we've done at the intersection of multiple industries and bring it to healthcare. I'd like to start with this quote from a Harvard professor, Dr. Clayton. So the most disruptive ideas often come at the intersection of two different industries, where concepts that are commonplace in one are applied in a new context. So we really lived through this from my career. I started my career as a chief scientist at Motorola very early in the development of the cell phone industry, from analog to digital. So I've seen all these transitions all the way to the iPhone, to the mobile hotspots, to the Internet of Things, to the connected car, in different roles, either as a scientist or as a businessman in different companies. So I would like to share this experience and how, when I was exposed to the healthcare industry, how I felt there's a lot of opportunities for us to innovate and make changes there. So I switched from wireless industry to automotive back in 2016. We happened to have an amazing product that's called MiFi. It's a mobile hotspot we created in 2008. It was basically Wi-Fi in your pocket. And we sold millions of this device. And I had a customer in Jeddah in the Middle East who put 100,000 of our MiFis in every single car. And they put these MiFis in the car for a very nice user experience over there, where you can drive your car to the desert and still be connected, back in 2008, 2009. So it was very popular. When I left my previous company, this customer called me, and they wanted to see how we can take their operation to the next level through the connected car, through the concepts of wireless. So my first trip to Jeddah, I've seen a picture like this. I went to the port where they get all these cars, 5,000, 10,000 cars, from in a batch, in batches of many boats. And then they park them like that. And that's where the car journey starts. And it's a massive dealership. They do like 400,000 vehicles a year. And they have very difficult efficiency situations where they need to solve, because the margins for dealerships are, as you know, very low. So you have to be really extreme in your efficiencies. So first question I asked when I saw something like this, walking through a sea of cars, where the heck do you put the keys of these cars? Without really buying 10,000 boxes or codes or something. And I was really impressed about the way they think about efficiency. So these cars are lined up in a queue, 1 to 10,000, and every car has a number. And so you just need to hold one key, the first car, and every other car is put in the trunk on the next car. So if you have the first key, you have access to all the cars. So it's a way to solve a problem, really, at no cost. But all these cars move fast, so it's like one after the other. You have 5 or 6 drivers driving them, and they know, they get used on how to manage that whole key situation. So it puts you in a mode of really thinking out of the box to solve things very efficiently, but also by being mindful of cost and being mindful of acceptance and culture and all that. So now I had to travel the country and have to go to Japan, had to go to many places to really understand the journey of this car and to understand what the customer is looking for. The customer is looking for satisfaction of their buyers. How do they love the experience? How do they be repeat buyers? And at the same time, they want to make money, so they want to be extremely efficient. We're able to trace at the high level the car journey, so you can see the car arrives to the port. From there, it's transported to a huge center, a huge parking. It's like, it holds about 60,000 cars. And you really don't see the end of it when you walk there. You need to be driving in different cars to see it. And that place has a lot of challenges. Like, these cars can sit there for 2 months. They have to be rotated all the time. You need to check their batteries. You need to make sure they don't turn into used cars. They're brand new cars. There's definition of a used car versus a brand car done by the manufacturer. So there is a lot of logistics. So if you don't know the whereabouts of these cars very efficiently, and if you don't know their statuses very efficiently, you can be losing a lot of money. You can see even cars sit there for a year or two, and you don't even know they are there. So we looked at that, then those cars get dispatched to local distribution centers, to repair shops, and to showroom. So really the lesson learned here is if you go relentless in terms of understanding your customer experience and understanding the product that you're selling and its journey, it helps you a lot to go after the low-hanging fruits in bringing in efficiencies to the operations. We came up with a dashboard like this, so think about it, just, like you have your full inventory. You can see all the steps of that car journey live as they move every second. You see what arrived to the port, what's being taken from one place to another, going through inspection, all the processes they have to go through. But what's nice about it, if you are running an operation like this and you have visibility, transparency to all that data, it makes you make decisions on the fly and take care of issues as you go. Now, another one that Dr. Ast mentioned was getting into collision centers. So collision centers are like big factories, and this is really what get me excited when I first get exposed to healthcare. There's so many parallels between collision centers and hospitals. It's actually much more difficult to deal with a collision center than a hospital or a surgery center. You have to deal with 3,000 parts from a logistics standpoint to repair a car. A human being, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 parts. I'm not an expert, but that's the only ones you guys deal with. But it's logistically very difficult to deal with those situations. Also, the parking of the cars, the large number of cars and everything. So we traced a journey into a workshop. This is an example of a workshop. This is their parking when cars arrive. And this is when we turned on IoT, how that same parking looked like. It's like 100% full visibility to anything that car has. Is it repaired? Is it coming for repair? And then we came up with dashboards like this. So inside the workshop, you can see that how many cars have arrived, how much money, this is live as things happen, how much money was committed, how many cars walked out for whatever reason, so you can follow through with the customer, what was not approved by the insurance. And then you go through these 12 steps of repairing a car. I think in our industry today, if I look at the ASC market, there's maybe 3 or 4 steps without getting into the micro level of the OR, but it's much more simple, much easier. And then at the same time, you create this dashboard, you give it to the leadership, and they see that color coding, which tells you if you are meeting your KPIs or not. If you're green, you're meeting KPI, orange, you're close, and red, you're not meeting it. And as this goes every 2 milliseconds, you can take actions as the manager of that workshop. So to cross-pollinate these two industries, I think the common denominator, in my view, was vehicle journey versus patient journey. So I had the great opportunity to meet my 2 co-founders who are veterans of healthcare, more decades of healthcare industry experience. And when I shared a demonstration of the workshop live, immediately my friend surgeon, Dr. Batra, said, wow, if you can do this in an ASC or in a hospital, this will be fantastic. You're going to solve a lot of problems. And we brought our team and we followed patient journeys. end-to-end, from surgeon office till discharge, till rehab, and we try to go through a similar exercise within the world of the ASC and the hospital. So the first thing that comes to mind is really you've got to focus on the patient journey and make sure if you maximize the time spent caring for patients, that is your biggest win. Everything will come together from there. You optimize the journey and you move the time from time wasted on many other activities that are inefficient to time spent on the patient. You're going to see everything is going to work for you from an ROI standpoint, from a patient satisfaction, from an efficiency standpoint. So we're going back to that, what we talked about for the workshop. Now let's look at how we do that for a patient journey in a surgery center. It is simple. You start with the waiting room, you go to the pre-op, to the OR, recovery, and there you are discharged. The first challenge is two different industries, a car sitting in a parking lot exposed to sun, exposed, the technology doesn't work exactly the same way from a tracking standpoint. So you need to come up with a way to track that patient very cost effective. You can do anything if you spend enough money on anything, but how do you bring the tracing of a patient journey to pennies? That was our first challenge, to create those two parallels. So without disrupting the process of the hospital or the surgery center, just give me visibility to all my patients every 2 milliseconds as they walking around or being in the surgery center. So the concept of a tag has been the right way to go for us in terms of safety. It's wearable, it's secure, reliable, it's very cost effective, and it provides a great user experience. You really don't need to change any processes inside the surgery center or hospital. You just need to pair that beacon to a patient, and from there, all the magic happens in the background. We kind of created our little satellite system in a surgery center. It's really simple. It takes about half a day to set up, but it's just these listeners that listen to the bracelet to trace the patient. And then all of this really comes together like an orchestra. The way we have these journeys traced is that's like the drum beat that's powering an orchestra. And that orchestra, the participant, our audience are the patients and their loved ones. That's who we cater to. But you have the orchestra, which consists of the staff, the nurses, the technicians, physicians, anesthesiologists, vendors. How do we bring all these stakeholders together and in a very simple way and show every one of them what they need to see for the service of that patient journey, for the optimization of that patient journey? So think about it as more like the technology that we try to bring from the auto industry into the surgery center is more or less optimizing that patient journey, tracing that patient journey, and now let's look at the challenges we have in healthcare. How do we apply that? Once we solve that problem, we know the whereabouts of the patient, we know all the timestamps of the patient. We collect 20+ timestamps as the patient move around. How can we make use of that in applications, simple applications that we create ourselves or through partnerships to service that patient? Obviously, moving from the healthcare side, from the auto side to healthcare, when I met my friend, my surgeon friend, he told me, welcome to healthcare. The problem, you used to deal with mechanics, now you're going to have to deal with nurses. Till now, I'm trying to find where the problem is. There's no problem with that. I actually love the industry and the people who work in the industry. He was joking about it, but it's much harder to work in the auto industry than in the healthcare industry. And the challenge are really data security, of course. It's not like a car. Information about a car or information about the patient, the data privacy and the resistance to change, which has been huge. I mean, I've never seen resistance to change I've seen in healthcare. Honestly, from my experience, I come from an industry every 9 months. We have to innovate, we have to launch products or we die. There's no notion of it. It's the consumer who accepts. Here you have so many layers of acceptance, rightfully, because of the nature of the business, because this focus on safety, patient safety, data security, and all that, which slows things down. And on top of that, there's a lot of legacy, of course, there, and bad taste from technology of the years 2000 and before, where it was not ready to deal with these things. So let's look at the first applications we were able to leverage through tracing the patient journey. So how can we visualize the journey to the family members without nurses touching buttons, without anybody doing anything? It's just automatically patients arrive from their cell phone, they get a text message, and they have the ability to automatically see what's going on with their loved one. That was the first applications that we were able to deliver. And really this helped us tremendously in cutting incoming calls into the surgery center by 80%. I mean, many of these calls are viral. You make a phone call, the front desk doesn't know an answer. They escalate to 2-3 hops. So imagine with that visibility to the family, most of these calls go away. Then we started looking at all the stakeholders. What's next is the staff members. How are we going to reach out to the staff members and make them part of that orchestra? What we did for automotive was something like this. That's what staff members see. That's how they're measured, how they track their performance. In the world of an ASC, we created a dashboard inspired from the other one, but dedicated to what these tasks are. So you can see here in a very intuitive way, you can trace a patient journey. You can show the flow of all your patients in a surgery center. Within like 10 seconds, you know what's going on in your center. Are the patients in the waiting room, in the pre-op? What's going on in the OR? What's going on in the recovery? The surgeon can see the beds of their patient. They see if their patients are ready to see, if they're ready to see the patient. And you get all these combination of statuses and patients moving around in just one on-TV screen, and it helps streamline your operation, and it helps you manage the flow of these patients efficiently. This is more a view of that whole dashboard. Now, I would like to use a term used by Dr. Charlie DeCook, who the author of 12 by 12, and he talks about radical time transparency to achieve extreme efficiency. And here it's powered by IoT. By leveraging the Internet of Things, we're able to trace patient journeys very accurately and visualize the timestamps, the every phase of that patient journey. Here's a simple one: waiting room, pre-op, OR, PACU, with the times that on average you should be seeing. And you should be measuring every 2 milliseconds. And if you see it's taking action, if your pre-op time is 150 minutes, you can instantly know when you exceeded the mark of 45. So I'm going to show you how we dive deeper into looking at this journey. These are real patients where in blue is what has been scheduled from an OR time standpoint, and in red what has been executed. And you can see sometimes we're completely outside the mark, and sometimes we hit it perfectly. Now, there are technologies out there, like, to name a few, like one team, there's the ProMap, there's a lot of other technologies I've seen where you can dive deeper into that blue-red segments and see the progress of surgery. So we work with those companies to give more visibility, the micro visibility to the patient journey to create more efficiencies. This is a slide where I'm trying to explain a real situation of a day of surgery in a surgery center. This is a surgery center of 3 operating rooms. That day they had 3 surgeons, and these are 12, I believe there's 12 patients which went through, and that's the sequence of patients coming through the surgery center, and that's the timeline. The color code shows you how much time they spent in the waiting room, pre-op. Orange is OR, and green is recovery. And that's the average times for that whole day in terms of time spent. It is not a good day. It's by any measure from the hundreds of thousands of surgeries we've seen, you can do much better than this. Now, let's look at what if once you get deep into the analytics of this and start taking action, because you should be able to get instantly how efficient you are. This is like the blood pressure test for a surgery center. I am 20% efficient, like I showed in the earlier slide here. By measuring your scheduling efficiency, it's like a blood pressure number for the operations guy. If I am operating at 34%, I'm terrible. I'm costing the center money. And I can tell you how much money you could be costing. If you're operating at 72, you're amazing. You're doing everything you do. I don't think anybody can operate at 99, hitting those kind of windows. So going back here, if we just say every surgery gonna start on time, keep the wait time, you're not impacting anything. One factor, just start your surgeries on time. You see the segment under the large segments, that's what is scheduled for starting the surgery. If you're able to start on time or within 10 minutes of what you committed to, for this day of surgery, for this surgery center, you save 110 minutes for the last patient. So you can close the surgery center 110 minutes before the just operation with zero visibility to what's going on. Physicians, we looked at the 3 physicians, on average, they leave 65 minutes after their last patient. And this can translate to ROI for the physician and for the surgery center. Going back to the previous dashboard where I talked about the equivalent of the OR dashboard for the auto industry, here I would like to show you what can be done with many suppliers out there right now today with the AI involved. You can fully visualize your operating room schedule and power it by IoT and have it refresh every 2 seconds to tell you what's going on with your operation. Think of, for example, one click and you can look a month down the road and it gives you the optimal way of managing your surgeries, which surgeon, which OR, managing the vendors and all that. This is through all the big data collected is being done. Having visibility to what's going on inside the OR from the vendors. So you avoid all these phone calls. By notifying your vendors, you have the capability to have them see chunks of the day of operation that's relevant to their business. Automatically hiring a nurse. For example, if a month from now or weeks from now you see shortage of staff, you have the capability from the intelligent dashboard to escalate this lack of staff and start contacting the right people and getting them accept and getting them show up as staff members like overlaid on this. Now, I want to jump to one last slide here where we can show the utilization of the OR as patients go in and out by surgeon name, by type of specialty. And we can, earlier, there's a key, in the previous discussion, there was talk about $20 per minute in the ASC. Here, we can overlay every minute cost for every OR because all the data is flowing through that OR dashboard. So there are systems out there where by measuring the patient journey and by calculating all these costs involved from a time of staff and from implants and all that, you can every 2 milliseconds update your P&L and see what's going on and take corrective actions to optimize your P&L. So I hope this gives you a view of my experience trying to go across industries. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Let's have a seat. Let's chat for a second. I mean, that was fascinating. Again, having heard that story a couple of times, it really does highlight some of the ways that I think healthcare is a challenge because like we didn't learn these lessons a long time ago, but at the same time, it gives us a real opportunity to say that the future, we're going to do a lot from the inside, but if we bring in some of these ideas from the outside, we can really make a big difference. Now, you hit on something that you and I love to talk about, which for a long time no one talked about, and that was staffing. You know, one of the challenges across healthcare right now is staffing, is the challenge of we don't have enough nurses, there's a huge nursing shortage, there's a lot of challenges in staffing and in staffing models and ASCs. And you mentioned that if you use the technology correctly, you can sort of change that. What do you think the future of staffing models looks like if you apply the correct technology?
If we look at the big challenge today is, or we see a lot with our customers, is the ability to staff that OR dashboard and have visibility for a few weeks. Having the capability to look down like 3, 4, 5 weeks and knowing what staff members are missing, what are not committed, what type of specialties are not committed, knowing your pool of resources, having an interface to other systems that are expert in bringing that staff, you can instantly, I would say, having the experience of hiring an Uber driver maybe in a couple of years, where you can get the technician you miss, you can get the nurse you miss to staff your OR, just because a lot of background work has to be done, of course, in terms of qualifying who that population of staff is, and the experience, in my view, soon would be one click, and you'll be able to get a bunch of talent you can choose from, and it's a win-win for both sides, because you can avoid cancellation of surgeries on one side, and you can offer opportunities for staff members to work in different places.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to think of it that way, right? We've, again, brick and mortar hospitals and the traditional provision of healthcare has been, it's fixed costs in fixed settings, and you sort of deal with those costs. And this is obviously a very different way of looking at it and say, no, we only spend the money when we need it, and all we need is the technology to be able to spend at the right time. Speaking of spending money, because every single time I talk to my hospital or my healthcare system or other healthcare systems about spending money, the initial answer is no. Right? That's no. It's more money. More money is bad. It's not in the budget. We'll put it in the budget. So, and you said something very interesting while you were speaking. You said, and I'm going to paraphrase you. I apologize if you said, you can fix any problem you want if you're willing to spend enough money. Right? There's always a way to spend more money, but where's the balance of throwing money at a problem and responsibly spending that money? And then what's the right economic model to do it for things like technology, in your opinion?
I think that goes back to the return on investment. And that return on investment could be in terms of financial investment, or it could be measured in patient satisfaction. It could be measured in overall efficiency of staff members. In my view, you need to have, like, financially, that's an easy one to do, and you can do a trial and you can measure those efficiencies and see that you are getting that ROI, that 5x, 10x ROI that you targeted. I think you can also look at patient experience, patient outcomes, measure that through trials or through existing testimonials from other partners. So I think the decision makers have a lot of tools to be able to vet those situations and spend the money efficiently.
And do you think there's a particular business model or payment model that works best for these types of technologies that sort of overlie the whole experience? So we always talk about, when we start thinking about surgical technology, we talk about, is it better to have a capital purchase versus a per case purchase, right? These are more like, in my mind, like subscription models, like I pay for Netflix, right? Like I pay for a month and I use it as much as I use it or don't use it, and I decide whether it was worth it that month if my kids asked me to pay for something that wasn't on Netflix. Like that's how my life works in my house, where we've got to pay for cartoons. But what do you think? Is there a right model? Is a subscription model? Is a purchase model? Is a capital purchase model? And is it different across centers?
I think I am for like a subscription model, like some sort of recurring revenue for the supplier with recurring impact done by the supplier for the customer. When you purchase a solution and you're paying for that solution monthly, I'm sure it passed the first gate ROI to select that solution, but this should be a journey with your supplier. Your supplier should be giving you recurring impact in efficiencies, in customer satisfaction, innovation, so you stay with them and you're happy to pay that monthly, whatever it is, few $100s, few $1,000s. I am a proponent of that because that it's a fair balance between what the supplier offers and stay with that partner and what the partner is getting. And at any time, if that connection is not working, they can sit down and find other ways to fix those issues.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you again for your time this morning. I think it was really wonderful. Thank you all for your attention. I think we're going to a break now, and I encourage you to find Salim as he's walking around. If you have any questions, he's an incredibly nice guy. And like I said, if you get a chance to share dinner with him, you'll enjoy it.
Thank you, Dr. Ass. Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.